just castle, and then I basically have a very solid pawn structure that you can't really break through. Hello and welcome back to the Chess Mindset. In this video, I'm going to be analyzing a game that I played using the Caro-Kann Defense, and basically going over my analysis of the game and also my thoughts as to whether you should be playing this opening or not, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate player. So I'm going to be opening up game review on the right side here so we can see what the best moves are, and basically going over how I managed to win this game. So let's get started. Now of course the Caro-Kann opening is e4 and then followed by c6, and our opponent plays knight to f3, and then I play d5, and now my opponent plays knight c3 and I play bishop g4, and then my opponent takes. So the main thing about the Caro-Kann is you want to bring a bishop out early so that you can push the e-pawn, and that sort of just locks your bishop like outside this pawn structure that you're going to create. And the reason we do this is because we want this bishop to be more active rather than just caged in here. So if we play pawn to e6 right away, then our bishop's going to be, there's going to be no squares for our bishop to go, and it's going to be basically trapped. So that's why I brought my bishop out first, and after takes, I just develop my other knight, and then I play e6. So notice now my bishop is basically outside this cage, and I built up a nice pawn structure here, which is basically the premise of the Caro-Kann defense. Okay, so when they attack your bishop, just move it back. Now I can also move it back here, but as you can see, like, this is also fine. Okay, so our opponent develops their bishop, I develop my other bishop. Now this is actually a very good square for the bishop. It's almost like the London system for white, but for black basically, where you put like a bishop on this, basically like underneath the pawn structure, when like there should be a pawn here, but now there's a knight. But basically you get the idea. And I develop my knight to this square because now I could also develop it to this square, but I just felt like, if I develop it to this square, I connect both of my knights, which could be useful, whether like, I can move this knight here or even like here, and basically if I move it to here, then my knights won't be connected, and moving it here I can also like play f6 in the future, maybe like to castle, and then like maybe drop my bishop back and then play f5 even. So yeah, that's the idea behind knight to e7 rather than knight to f6. But anyway, our opponent plays queen here. Now notice that I didn't castle here because actually I think if I castle, that might be a slight inaccuracy. Yeah, because you can see our opponent, they haven't castled yet, so I don't know where they're going to put their king. But if I castle straight away, then they can easily just like even like push their pawn and then like put pressure on my king side, or they can even like castle queen side and like start to bring their rooks in and even put pressure on my king side, right? Maybe like g4 and then like h4, right? So that's the reason why I didn't castle early. Now in general, it's probably better to delay castling until your opponent has castled, because you don't know where they're gonna like attack you. So this is like a tip for beginners, like if you just castle straight away, then your opponent can just start steamrolling you on the other side, or like on the king side basically. So that's why I played queen here, and our opponent plays knight here, trying to like trade off our bishops. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter right now, because that just benefits me. It develops my queen, it gives it more scope, which is why I just, I was like challenging him, like saying, okay, what are you going to do with this knight? Are you going to take my bishop or are you going to retreat? And so he does take my bishop, which is a great move, but then I take back, of course. And now he finally castles. And here I was wondering, like, okay, should I castle kingside or should I castle queenside? And my thought process is, okay, if I castle kingside, then, and that's what I did, then it's going to be a fairly like even game because our kings are on the same side, right? But if I castle queenside, then it would have been more aggressive, but it's probably losing, yeah, with like bishop here, and then my queen just has nowhere to go, like queen here, and then probably like, yeah, he's just gonna start pushing the queenside pawns, and I'm basically like gonna be in trouble. So usually opposite side castling leads to a lot of like imbalances, and usually like your opponent will just start attacking you on your king side, or like wherever you castle basically. Whereas if you castle like on the same side, then it's much harder for them to like push their pawns, because then that creates weaknesses on their own king side as well. So they can't just easily push their pawns, because you know they're going to be in trouble as well. So that's basically like how castling works. Okay, so they play knight here, which is an inaccuracy, because after I take and he takes, he loses a pawn. So you can see how like this basically is a miscalculation. So if he puts the knight there, right, I can take, and he takes with the pawn, and then my queen can take the pawn. So that basically just loses a pawn. So it's not actually a good trade for him. Okay, so now, okay, pushes that. Not really sure what that does, but apparently that's the best move. Okay, and I drop my queen back because I was thinking of something like bishop here, which attacks my queen, right? And I can't take the bishop because it's guarded by the queen. So if he goes bishop there, then I can't retreat my queen backwards like this. I have to retreat it like here. But then that opens up the diagonal for him. So he's going to have a really nice bishop here and a really nice diagonal here. So basically, I retreat my queen back so that if he plays bishop, I can probably just slide my queen. So like if something like this, for example, I'll probably just go here, and that should be perfectly fine. Yeah. So he plays bishop here instead, trying to like trade my bishop. And here I probably should have just taken the bishop. Instead I play rook c8, whereas if I just took the bishop, I was probably in a better position anyway, because now if I play rook c8, he doesn't have like a bishop here to like, you know, threaten me or anything, or like bishop here I should say. And so yeah, and also this bishop has pretty good scope as well, whereas my bishop here is kind of locked in. I can't go here and I can't go here. Well, now his bishop's in the way, so I can't go anywhere. And yeah, basically I went rook here, and my plan was to probably push this pawn, or maybe push this pawn and then push this pawn to sort of break through, like after takes, and then like rook here, attack the bishop, and then I'm just like pressuring him on this file basically. But anyway, I play rook here with the idea of going e5 and then d4, and our opponent plays rook here. That's logical, because if he opens, like if he plays like bishop back, then it opens up the rook and it could be useful long term. And now I play this move e5. Now in hindsight, this probably wasn't the best move, because probably after takes, and I'm just in a bad position here, because even though I have the pawns, he can probably go something like, I don't know, what can he play here? Yeah, like bishop here, and then yeah, if I go here, that pretty much, okay, apparently the engine says this is a good move, because after takes, and my pawn structure is just messed up, and basically like, yeah, after this, and then this, probably just like here, probably two double rooks, and then yeah, basically my pawn structure is kind of weak. He can just take the pawn, and then yeah, my king doesn't really have any good squares to go now, because even like he can like bring his rooks in and then like start pressuring me here basically. So, but obviously I can't see that like that deep, because I'm just 1300, right? So this video is just like for beginners. But anyway, this move is still fine, because after he takes, I can still take with the knight, and that's what he does. And then I take with the knight, and then that has a tempo on the bishop here. Okay, and then he goes queen here. I think he's just trying to like threaten my knight, but of course I can just drop it back, right? And notice like this is protected. This is because of my rook and my knight. So you can see there's two threats here from this queen move. First, he's attacking my knight, which is not defended, and secondly, he's eyeing my pawn here, which is also eyed by the rook. And notice I only have one defender, so that's why this knight move basically solves two problems with one move, right? It gets the knight out of trouble, and it adds a defender to this pawn. Okay, so now he goes queen here, and I think he's trying to like set up some sort of attack on here, on like my king. And I played rook here because I wanted to double my rooks, and then probably play something like e4 and then d4 to try to like break open the center. And here is where he blunders. Now, let's see if you can spot what move I play here to punish him. So I played knight to e5, and the reason this is a good move is because, well, first of all, what was his idea of bishop here? Well, it's basically, the idea is I can't take the bishop because my pawn is pinned because of his queen. And so that was his idea, basically, to try and checkmate me here. And he probably expected me to play something like this, and then, you know, open up this square. But instead, I can play knight to f5. And this move does two things. Well, first of all, it now protects this square so he can't actually checkmate me. But second of all, it has a tempo on the queen and the bishop. So you can see like both of these, okay, first of all, the queen's defended but has to move because, you know, it's the best piece in the game. But third of all, his bishop is undefended. You can see none of his pieces are actually defending his bishop. And so after he moves his queen out of danger, now I can take the bishop for free. So let's say queen h2, now I can take the bishop, and I basically just want the bishop from that. And after that, it's basically game over. He can't do anything. And so that was a very good move by me, because I spotted that, okay, this knight move defends this, attacks the queen, and also attacks the bishop. And basically wherever he goes, basically, let's say here, I'm just going to take the bishop. And of course, if he doesn't move the queen, let's say he like does this or something, then I'm just going to take the queen. And after takes, up in material, and I'm basically going to win the game. So yeah, that's basically when he resigned. He basically, yeah, that was the end of the game. And that was my analysis of the Caro-Kann opening. Basically, the idea of the Caro-Kann is to build this like center of pawns, you know, put my bishop out and then play pawn here to try and build a very solid center so you can't really like attack my king. And then after that, just castle, and then I basically have a very solid pawn structure that he can't really break through. And then after a bit of moves, just, you know, he makes some mistakes and then I exploit them, and yeah, that's basically the end of the game. So would I recommend the Caro-Kann defense to beginners? Absolutely, because I think it is a very simple opening to play, because all you need to remember is like bringing these pawns out basically, and creating this sort of like structure where it has like the pyramid of pawns, and that's basically very hard for your opponent to break through. And just remember, your bishop goes out here, your light square bishop goes out, so it doesn't get caged inside the pawn structure. And then you can like develop your other bishop, your other knight, you know, your knight's flexible, you can go to here or here, and then you can even delay castling basically, which is what I did in this game. So overall, the Caro-Kann is a very solid opening in my opinion, and if you're a beginner or even intermediate, then you should definitely give it a go if you haven't already. So that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I've also created a free Skool community for chess players, and you can find that in the first link in the description below if you're interested in that. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.